As always, I didn't have my mic on. So we're going to do this again. Again, peace, peace, peace. I am Phillip Roundtree. You know the rest. You are tuned into Rhetorically Speaking. It is one of those days. It is one of those days where the energy feels just off. It's kind of gloomy here in Philadelphia outside. I got my neighbor who she's always high on some Percocet or Xanax, who's always yelling at her kids like all day. At some point, we're going to talk about when new neighbors move into the neighborhood onto the block and they just mess up your entire way of life. People like home ownership is a beautiful thing. Home ownership is a beautiful thing. I'll say that because listen, you can't take for granted that you got a roof over your head. But if you don't have the right neighbors, if you ain't got the right neighbors, then listen, man, it can make that experience a living nightmare. It can definitely make it a living nightmare. So we're gonna get right into it. Um, First and foremost, giving thanks and honor to God for finding whoever this arsonist is that was running around setting police cars on fire here in Philadelphia. She was caught. She was caught, and I don't even necessarily know if it was God. It was the FBI. It was the eye in the sky. And so when I saw this today about this individual who goes by the name, I call her Lori Beth Denberg, and y'all don't know who that is. You didn't watch Nickelodeon as a kid when you was growing up. But Lori Beth, let's say, Lori, where'd it go now? Now it done disappeared on me. Lori Elizabeth Blumenthal, who is 33, she is facing 2 counts of felony arson. She's accused of setting police cars on fire during the first day of the protest. So now, when all the white folk everywhere, and it was primarily white folk, the rioters, they're destroying the city, they're saying up, they're burning cop cars. This was a non-black individual who was arrested for these crimes. And the reason why I know they're not black, because I looked at the name, Lori Elizabeth Blumenthal. Nothing about that name screams Negro. And so I cracked a little smile when I saw that. I felt kind of good. That coupled with the story that's going to be next with Aunt Jemima made my heart warm. Again, it's penny deposits when we talk about progress and change. So it warmed my heart to know that it wasn't Negroes who did this. Not this. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be stereotypical and say when I heard about Jordans and stuff being stolen from, being acquired from stores, I didn't grimace just a little bit like, But then again, we know our Latinx folk love Jordans. We know white folk love Jordans. So that's not necessarily us either. So, again, I cracked a little smile when I saw that Lori Elizabeth Blumenthal is facing 2 counts of felony arson. So what they're saying she did is she took a piece of flaming wood and went around a police barricade and threw it into the back of a police sedan, which ignited that car on fire. And then she hit a SUV. Then consequently, an SUV was burned up as well. And so it's just like, all right, she did that. But I think what the interesting part is how they found her. And I think this goes to the eye in the sky that we know exists when we're signing up for all of these apps, because apps was partially her downfall. Apps were partially her downfall. So apparently the eye in the sky, because we know with so many cameras around, people on their cell phones, and again, Big Brother is always watching, they caught a glimpse of her tattoo on her arm. Now, she presumably had goggles on and a mask and some flame retardant gloves so she doesn't burn herself. However, they still were able to see the tattoo on her arm. They also saw an article of clothing that she wore. Wow, right? Like, this is all that it took. So for all those years, we watched Criminal Minds, we watched Law and Order, we watched First 48, we watch all of these forensic file shows. We see that this is legit. we see that this is legit because from her tattoo and from this shirt, apparently they went on Etsy. I had no idea what Etsy was until I saw this article. And so they found the shirt and they started matching it up with receipts and all of these different things. They went on her LinkedIn, they went on her Instagram to compile enough evidence to charge her with these crimes. It's just like, yo, this is where we are these days. This is where we are. Like, you cannot commit a crime and think that you're going to get away scot-free or think that you got every angle covered. When I sit and watch First 48, I be thinking, which I hope they take off the air, actually, because, again, it goes into that whole narrative of painting the black man, which is primarily the cases that they show on there, in a light where he is the criminal. And we know that imagery matters. We know what consistent imagery being pushed into your face on a daily basis, what that means and what that looks like. But I always say, if I was to ever commit a crime, and they probably going to use this against me, I'm sure they probably gonna find other stuff used against me too. Like, they gonna probably get me and have a picture of me taking a shot or something. They gonna catch me without a haircut, me mugging the camera, just to portray me in this specific light. But I always say, yo, I'm gonna leave my cell phone home, because at this point, they nabbing people based off these towers. Even though T-Mobile was down on Monday for like 6 to 8 hours, they getting folk up out the paint by using their cell phone to track where they are. And so when you're signing up for these various apps, it's telling you, you're not reading it, but it's telling you, yo, if anything goes down, we giving your issue over to the FBI. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You think Etsy was just going to sit up there and be like, no, this is about privacy, consumer privacy? Not at all. Her name is Lori Elizabeth. We call her Beth over here at Etsy. Blumenthal. You want me to spell that? B-L-U. They like the person on First 48 when they giving up the tapes when they in there. Like, yo, you want a soda? Yeah, I want a soda. It was Jamal who did it. I seen him when he did it. And that's what's happening. Like, we're under surveillance. And I never thought that I would be this conspiracy 5G person. But we are under surveillance. For those who have been following me since the days when I was on radio, I talked about how there's a corporation who was able to stockpile from all of these different apps our pictures. And they were giving them to these different bureaus to use in their system. And so every selfie that you take, every live stream that you do on YouTube, they watching you. And if they need to nab you, they gonna nab you. Now, I don't know with what vigor they're gonna go after the people who were stealing Jordans, stealing Iversons, even stealing prescriptions. I don't know. But what I do know is you're not going to get away with it. And this is proof. And this is proof that you're not going to get away with it. So Philadelphia Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw, she commended the peaceful protesters while decrying the action of people who she said used the opportunity to engage in an, and I quote, malicious and destructive crimes that could have left people hurt. And I agree. Like, these people come with these agendas, with their agendas to peaceful protests. And we're supposed to just sit and just be like, all right, cool. Which we do. Right? We keep our eye on the prize. We stay focused on what it is that we need to do. But here come these agitators. At first I thought it was a white woman. Because this seemed like just what agitated white women do when they want to stoke the flames of something. We seen it with that Wendy's fire in Atlanta. Rest in peace, Rayshard Brooks. I didn't even want to talk about that today because, listen, the cops got charged with murder. Salute. That's not justice to me. As you know, I don't necessarily believe in this idea of justice. Too much has been done to this community for there ever to be anything that looks like justice. What it is for them to get something right, to get one thing right. But again, we'll see. Because as we saw with Trayvon Martin, as we saw with Philando Castile, that doesn't necessarily mean a conviction. Also was interesting, and I had to sit and think when I'm hearing this story, like the FBI was able to track her down by a tattoo on her forearm and a shirt from Etsy, whatever the heck Etsy is. But yet Breonna Taylor's killers are still on the loose. How much time y'all need? It's been months. How much more time do y'all need, FBI? We saw what the Louisville PD did with their investigation. We saw what they did with their investigation. Some blank pages. Shoot, they had time to enact the law. Breonna's law, where there's no more no-knock warrants. Which, for the majority of us, is clearly an admission of guilt. Again, you may feel different. You may feel different. I don't know anybody else that does feel different. But you just might feel different about it. And so just bringing it back for them to be able to find her, it's ludicrous to me. It's ludicrous to me. And so my thoughts are, when I'm sitting there thinking about her, like, what was she thinking? Did she think she was going to be an ally by setting police cars on fire? Like she's sticking it to the man? Her man? Right? This because she a part of this whole system too. And that's why I keep saying, man, we too comfortable with the invitations to the cookout. I saw somebody post something about Gary Owen today. I didn't even want to watch it because I don't know how long ago, what he was talking about was. Him in an interview with Big Tigger. I didn't watch it, so I don't really want to comment on it. But I can only imagine. Because we give these invites to the quote-unquote cookout. And people think they lifelong passes. And so you can do and talk about some anti-black-ish and still get away with it and still be cool. Nah. That's anti-black when you set police cars on fire because you're distracting from what the purpose is. You're just out there to get your ish off. And you probably wouldn't be doing this if it was any other ethnicity out here protesting against injustice and oppression. You wouldn't do that. This Blumenthal person wasn't out there during the women's movement, the women's march, setting cars on fire. Nah, she held that together. She wasn't out in South Philly when they was down at Mayor Kenny's girlfriend's crib trying to throw something through the window. Nah. She got too comfortable. And that's what keeps happening. People start to get too comfortable, man. And so that's why I say it's a lifelong probation. It's a lifelong probation. Or I thought about, I thought about her setting police cars on fire. Is she doing this to frame it? Like, is she doing this to, again, to agitate and to frame black folk? So then we could see what we saw the hours and the days and the weeks following, where peaceful protesters are being shot in the eye, shot in the body with rubber bullets, being tear gassed. I'm surprised they ain't put the hose on them. Let the dogs out. Was her mission fulfilled? Listen, I wholeheartedly believe that part of the reason why her face not out here in these streets, and I found who I think it was so I could post her face, but I didn't want to do that because it wasn't confirmed, is because this is typically how they do. They want to keep some type of anonymity until they, quote unquote, complete the process, still being given the benefit of the doubt. But again, we know how this go. Right? We know how this go. And so, yeah, I hope she gets the whole 10 years. I hope she gets the whole 20 some odd thousand fine. And she got to replace them vehicles. Because we know that's what will happen if it was black folk. Moving right along. Yo, this is my first time seeing this Aunt Jemima, this old Aunt Jemima picture. Like, I don't even want to repeat it. I said it to myself and instantly got irritated, instantly got frustrated. Because, yo, this is what they've been running out here for the last 120 years. And now in the day, they want to have some come to Jesus moment. They want to have a come to Jesus moment during the midst of this unrest. Because again, I told you, man, it's about picking sides. They not trying to mess up that money. Capitalism is a hell of a drug. And so anything these places could do to stay afloat, they gonna do it. People have been calling for years, protesting for years, speaking out for years against Aunt Jemima, what the brand and the logo represents. We knew what the origins was, and so did they. We knew that was based off a racial stereotype. The old song, Old Aunt Jemima, from a minstrel show that was sung by slaves. The company's website even says the logo started in 1890. It was based on Nancy Green, a storyteller, cook, and missionary worker. However, they failed to say that she was born into slavery, right? That omission, because they know what it is. And so now here they are 130 years later saying, yo, all right, my bad. We don't mean this. We're not represented. This doesn't represent us anymore. In the last 3 weeks, you came to that conclusion? Right? So it was nothing else that took place within the last 129 years and 49 weeks to have you say, yo, this isn't it. This isn't the look. This is discriminatory, stereotypical. You want to make the change. And so shout out to, no, I'm not going to be loose with the shout outs. Because again, it takes these type of situations for change to happen. And that's true in everything. Sometimes we got to hit rock bottom, or there has to be an extreme situation in order for us to recognize the error of our ways. We don't got to applaud you for that ish, though. When you've been wrong for this long and making bread, What you gonna do with the money that you've made off Aunt Jemima for all these years? Are you gonna donate a portion somewhere? Like what are you gonna do? I don't know. And in the articles that I was reading about it, nobody necessarily answered that question. But yes, they're changing it. Who else is changing it? I think it's time for, everybody like, yo, we changing too. Uncle Ben's like, we don't know if we gonna be Uncle Ben's anymore. Mars, who owns Uncle Ben's, they said now is the right time to evolve the Uncle Ben's brand, including its visual brand identity, which we will do. Great. But then they start half-stepping. We don't yet know what the exact changes in timing will be, but we are evaluating all possibilities. So there's no time period. You didn't want to, so you came out with an empty statement. That's like you when you had a job interview and they're like, yeah, we're going to call you. And you want to be like, when? You really don't know if they're going to call you or not. But they just tell you to appease you. So you're not sitting back calling them every hour on the hour. But again, these are the hollow things that they're doing. To try to show that, again, they're what? They're allies. That they don't mean no harm. That they're trying to get it right. I saw a post that said, listen, they done dropped the Black Bachelor. They done canceled Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben's, Mrs. Butterworth, who I'm going to talk about in a split second. NASCAR done got rid of the Confederate flags. The NFL came out and said, yo, we support and love black people. We will be nothing without y'all. They coming all out to do this ish, but the ish that we asked for. We don't give a F about a Black Bachelor. I recognize what the imagery is with these products that we're talking about. And so cool y'all changing it. But let's get to the meat and potatoes. This is not even an appetizer. This is the glass of water that you get. When they ask you, do you want lemon? I never drink that water because I know it's from the tap. That's all this is. This is the distraction. Again, I'm cool with it because, again, imagery matters. The pain of the ancestors, they felt that when they saw that they saw this Law Z. They felt the pain of that. And so, yeah, anything that can be done to help their spirits rest a little bit easier, I'm all for it. But it's not enough. And so Conagra came out and said Mrs. Butter's syrup said it would conduct a complete brand and packaging review. So you see how they get softer and softer in their stance? Aunt Jemima was like, no, we out. We canceling, my bad. Mars like, yo, we're going to evolve it. We not sure when, but we going to evolve it. And Conagra like, yo, we going to look at it. We can see that our packaging may be interpreted in a way that is wholly inconsistent with our values. You just realized that again today. Again, man, these morals and values, they're contingent upon the dollar sign. They always have, and they always will be. They always have, and they always will be. And this is why I'm not a believer in this idea of systemic change, systemic oppression. I'm going to see it in my lifetime. You know, black men, our life expectancy, especially if I'm still here in Philadelphia, is 67. So technically I've got about 30 years and 4 months left in this game. Now, hopefully I last to my 80s and my 90s and all of that. Like Bob Barker. I found out Bob Barker like 93, 94. Because he was messing with them white women. That's what it is. But I'm not gonna say that's the way you get to the promised land and stay alive. No, I ain't gonna say that. But again, I don't know if I'm gonna see that. Like, these are these are deposits. We can have both. We can have these little deposits and that big deposit that we going after. That we're not going to just rest on our laurels and think they're going to give us. Again, anything worth fighting for is not going to be readily handed over to us. We have to use our platforms. We have to use our individual protests. We have to use our skill set to put ourselves in positions to forcefully make this shit happen. So, straight like that. Listen, I gotta eat. So we about to end this joint. Listen, I appreciate you all. Tune in tomorrow to Rhetorically Speaking. Till next time, peace.